All right, guys, we've got top Goldman Sachs trader exposes how to build wealth through the stock market. If you actually want to get into this stuff, you definitely want to listen, but he's going to be asked how to do it with a 9-to-5 job. His name is Debo Dunn. I hope I didn't butcher his name, but let's get into the video.
That's really good advice.
Don't let that stop you.
One question I want to ask you is, and I probably know the answer to this, but do you believe that people can build wealth with a 9-to-5? So I'm going to preface this by saying we've had a few people come on and they have said you can't build wealth with a 9-to-5, but more so in the sense that to build wealth, you need ownership, right? So it's not that in and of itself, the job itself, it's not that you can't build wealth if you're someone who works a 9-to-5, but it's within the job itself. People are always going to come out and be like, oh, there's CEOs who are super wealthy, and those are 0.000%, if anything, of the people who actually make millions, for example. But I do believe that you can build wealth with a 9-to-5, but not necessarily always in your 9-to-5. And even if we look at banking, where people are able to make crazy loads of money, especially as traders, that's still a very small proportion of people who work in finance in general. But I wanted to pose that question to you. Do you think that people can build wealth with a 9-to-5? And if so, how?
Absolutely. There's two sides to this coin. It was only... So Stock Pickers Academy started in lockdown, right? And prior to that, I tried to start another company, which was called TubeNav, which I joined. And it was basically an app like Google Maps, where you click on a tube station and you can book whatever's nearby, whether that's a restaurant, cinema. You know, it didn't work out. It failed. And a couple $100K invested into that, and it didn't work out. But
a couple of $100Ks. I've got one of my friends who's now successfully become a millionaire, and he dropped about 130 grand onto his first startup. It did not work, failed. But yet you've only invested £10,000 and you've quit. So do not quit because you don't know how close you're getting. And now he's super successful.
If you've got time to think and come up with an idea, and you can come up with a minimal viable product or a concept of that idea, and you can start executing it on the side as a side hustle, and it starts to generate a consistent revenue, and you can strategize a way for that revenue to keep growing, then eventually you will get to a point where you leave your 9-to-5 and continue that journey full time. And usually that's at a point where what you're making is almost the same as your salary, or even double your salary. Then of course the natural, logical thing to do is to move. And at the same time in your 9-to-5, you're networking. These are potential clients, these are potential future investors, you know, so it's definitely possible. I'll definitely challenge the notion that it isn't possible. You just need to have a good idea and then a good way of executing on that idea in a low to medium touch manner. And then the rest is how do you grow that? How do you scale that? How do you market that? How do you get more sales revenue, more profits?
And then obviously the other side of that is you can also build a portfolio that then grows to...
Yeah, there's another side of it where if you want to be a lazy investor because you're busy, there's nothing wrong with with being a lazy investor. Right? In fact, there is a book called The Millionaire Next Door. I believe it's called. And what that book says is we've looked at all the millionaires in America, and most of them have normal jobs, normal cars, normal houses, got married. And by normal, I'm saying, you know, say 40, 50K jobs. You know, once you get there, you get married, combined incomes, let's call it 70K, 80K. You're able to have a few kids and pay for nursery and all of that, but still have enough to save maybe £300 a month into a stocks and shares ISA. Over time, you get promoted, you up that to about 600, combined incomes, savings, and that's getting put onto the stock market, the S&P 500 in a tax-free wrapper. And if you do that for 25 to 30 years, so £850 a month into the S&P 500 will grow to 1 million. If you're able to ever hit that number and continue it for 25 years, you can become a tax-free millionaire. So what that book was really saying is building wealth isn't about having a lucky break, winning the lottery, being in a very, very high paying role, because there's also lifestyle inflation. But there are lots of average, normal people leading normal lives who actually represent a significant proportion of the number of millionaires in America. So you can build wealth like that.
Exactly. So now let's get into that. So you were talking about like the Stock Pickers Academy. So let's go more into that. How do people then go around building a portfolio, the stocks and shares ISA? What is it? What are they adding into this ISA?
Okay. So the S&P 500.
So what I'm going to clarify here so that you make sure you're paying attention, especially in regards to the S&P 500, he might mention something slightly a bit different. But for me, it depends. If you want to get there quicker, two different people. One's getting chased by a lion, like I always say. The other one's getting chased by a rat. A small, tiny, dusty little rat. The energy of running is completely different. The guy who's being chased by a lion will run way faster because his life is at stake. And the mouse boy over there who's getting chased by a mouse might run, but not so much. Like, you know, he might even accidentally kill the mouse, like trample on it whilst being afraid. He's dead. But you're not going to accidentally kill a lion. So the energy that you're running with is completely different. If you want to get there a lot quicker, a lot sooner, that strategy of saving £800 or whatever it is per month and waiting for 25 years, the odds of something going wrong, as in maybe health issue, or, you know, if you've got a mortgage, the roof breaks down, you have to drop maybe 10 grand, 16, 8 grand, however much your roof costs for your building or for your house. Emergency, life can happen. So that slow route, and I say slow because 25 years is a long time, it's a sure route that's going to make sure you arrive there, considering inflation, blah, 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 but you might want to get there sooner depending on your goals. And if you want to get there sooner, then you need to become very aggressive with investing. You need to prioritize investing over spending, meaning whenever you get paid, whenever you get some money, your number one goal should be investing, and then I spend the leftovers. But what most people do is they get paid, they spend, and the leftovers they invest. How on earth are you going to build any significant wealth? That doesn't even make sense. And then you're saying, yeah, by God's grace, I'm going to be a millionaire one day. How? If you don't have a blueprint, if you don't have a plan, how on earth are you going to make that happen? It is absolutely impossible. So I challenge you today, and I hope that this video is an eye-opener for you, that, look, not only can you do it, not only do I believe in you, but it is possible. Get your income that's coming in from your normal 9-to-5 job and say, from today onwards, I am an investor first. I invest, and then the leftovers I spend. And you're going to quickly figure out that you've been blowing through money because you feel like, oh yeah, I've still got, 800 left. I've still got 900 left. I've still got 500 left. And you're just spending and spending and spending. That's what he's referring to, lifestyle inflation. So if you don't want lifestyle inflation to kick in, which it kicks in automatically, it doesn't ask you before it does it. It just happens. The more your income increases, even by £100, you're going to feel like, oh, yes, nice, man. Oh, I've got an extra £100 to spend. You silly goose. And you're talking about generational I'm building generational wealth. You can't even build your own personal wealth. You're talking about generational wealth. This is why my people are perishing. People are perishing because of lack of wisdom, lack of knowledge. And this area is one of them. If you don't take this with the utmost seriousness, if you don't say, I need to change my life because the next 10 years is going to look like the last 10 years that just went by. And if you weren't happy with the last 10 years that just went by, just know the next 10 years is going to look identical to that, if not worse, because is just getting worse and worse. If you live in the UK, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My wish to you is you get up and you start doing something. And yeah, but if you need my help anyway, services wise, link in the description down below. Reach out and I should be able to help out. And yeah, join the Patreon. If I've got a spot available, you should be able to click in the link. If not, I'm sorry, I don't take on every client because yeah, people can be a headache to work with and I don't work with everyone else.